Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're going to dive into a really powerful short parable about a young boy selling oranges, and we're going to extract an absolute masterclass on financial resilience, specifically for young founders. Now, the story we're looking at is called The Harvest of Perseverance, or sometimes The Poor Boy Who Never Gave Up, and it holds these incredible foundational lessons for anyone looking to build something huge from literally nothing. Let's get right into it.
So, the story opens with this pretty stark reality. Everyone ignored him. But one decision changed his life forever. I want you to picture the scene described in the text for a second. We have a hungry young boy standing in the pouring rain, wearing torn clothes and holding a completely empty basket. Now, in the world of business, that empty basket, that represents the ultimate zero capital starting point. I mean, we're talking no angel investors, no seed funding, not even basic inventory to lean on. It's a really emotional image, for sure, but it perfectly sets the stage for the gritty reality of starting from ground zero. The odds are entirely against him, and yet, that one single decision changes everything.
All right, Section 1, the power of starting small. From an empty basket to the very first hustle.
Notice how our founder doesn't just sit around waiting for ideal conditions, right? He's not waiting for sunny weather or some sudden influx of capital. Instead, he just picks up a few oranges and hits a busy street. And this brilliantly illustrates the concept of the minimum viable product, or MVP. It's all about starting a business with the absolute bare minimum resources available, just to test the market. The story notes that day after day, he worked harder than anyone around him and he was completely ignored. And you know, that is the true essence of the MVP phase. It proves that grinding it out, working harder than anyone else day in and day out, despite being totally overlooked by the market at first, well, that's just the gritty reality of the early startup grind. You just putting your few oranges out there and seeing if there's any demand at all. Moving right along to Section 2, Securing the First Win, the immense power of a single breakthrough. So all that relentless grinding out on the busy street finally leads to a breakthrough. An elderly woman smiles and buys just one single orange, and the text explicitly notes that the boy's face just lights up with hope. Then one kind stranger gave him a chance, the story tells us, and that's the thing. It literally only takes one. One kind stranger, one converted lead, or one early adopter to give you a chance and build that initial momentum. That single, tiny transaction transitions our young founder from just a boy with a basket into an actual business in operation. It's the definitive proof of concept, and it completely changes the entire trajectory of his journey.
Next up is Section 3, the glass jar principle, which really is the absolute core of financial discipline here.
Okay, so what happens when he takes his very first profit home? The narrative tells us, instead of spending his money, he saved every single coin. I mean, really think about the temptation here. Remember, he's hungry, he's in torn clothes, the urge to spend that money on an immediate reward must have been completely overwhelming. But he doesn't buy a reward. Instead, he carefully places every single coin into a small glass jar. And just like that, that little jar becomes his bank, his treasury, and really the foundation of his entire future.
This brings us to a fatal trap for a lot of young founders: lifestyle inflation. On one hand, you have the amateur mindset. That's when you spend your very first profit on flashy, immediate rewards just to satisfy those short-term desires. And let me tell you, that is fatal to early-stage businesses. But on the other hand, the entrepreneur mindset dictates ironclad discipline. A disciplined founder treats their humble glass jar as self-funded seed capital. They fundamentally understand that the revenue from that first orange, it doesn't actually belong to them to spend. It belongs to the business to grow.
Which brings us to Section 4, Scaling through Reinvestment, turning a jar of coins into a storefront.
Flash forward months later in the timeline of the story, and that strict financial discipline totally pays off. He opens a fully fledged fruit shop with a proud smile. He didn't just hoard those coins in the jar forever, you know. He utilized them strategically. And this gives us the exact operational blueprint for bootstrapping your way through scaling. Step 1, start with exactly what you have. In his case, the oranges. Step 2, save every penny with that ironclad discipline we talked about, the jar. Step 3, reinvest those savings into physical infrastructure, the shop. And finally, Step 4, generate social ROI, the free fruit, which is something we'll look at in just a second. But really, if you want to scale a business without relying on outside funding, this right here is your undeniable blueprint.
And finally, Section 5, the ultimate return. Asking the big question, why do we build wealth in the first place?
So now that he's a highly successful shop owner, the boy uses his position to give free fruit to poor children. The scene in the original source is described with this beautiful, warm sunset, creating a highly emotional ending. And it shows us that financial discipline isn't just a selfish tool for accumulating personal wealth. Actually, it's the prerequisite for social impact. By building a sustainable business through the glass jar principle, he's now in a position of strength. And that allows him to give back to those who are in the exact same vulnerable position that he started in.
The narrative leaves us with this really powerful truth. Success doesn't come from luck. It comes from never giving up. Enduring the pouring rain, surviving all those ignored pitches on the busy street, and diligently saving every single coin in that glass jar, that is the true anatomy of success. It wasn't a lottery ticket. Actually, scratch that. It was the exact opposite of a lottery ticket or a random luck. It was relentless perseverance paired with unyielding financial discipline.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to focus on this final question posed directly by the source material. What's your biggest dream? It's a beautiful question, right? But after analyzing this story, it definitely comes with a challenge. You have to ask yourself if you truly have the glass jar discipline required to actually achieve it. Are you willing to start with an empty basket, weather the storms of being ignored, and save every single coin until your dream becomes a reality? I highly encourage you to reflect on that today. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and as always, keep learning.